Teen Talk, Hamari Baat.
It emerged in the mid-1990s, driven largely by the Gen X women.
It used multiple channels like the Guerrilla Girls.
Well, the internet gave women visibility but also made them the bigger targets.
What's unique about the third wave is that
it became stronger because it contained more voices, and it became messier because there was no coordination in those voices.
What's the real danger of empowerment being profitable?
It creates a fake version of freedom. The system does not need to change. It can sell you the illusion of change.
Yeah, the corporation didn't join feminism, they colonized it.
pop culture became feminism's loudest speaker.
They started manipulating the feelings and desires of women.
How do we judge what's freedom and what's manipulation?
Some religious leaders, conservative politicians, they said that just because of feminism, it is weakening the family structures.
And that feminism breaks families. Honestly, culture reaches people faster than policies.
And what did this shift do to leadership in the role of feminism?
It broke gatekeeping.
It wasn't always about policy meetings and organization. It was about reshaping narratives.
Welcome back to the podcast. In episode 1, we unpacked the first wave of feminism, how it fought for rights, but also how power decided who benefited first. In episode 2, we explored the second wave of feminism, how women pushed beyond laws into culture and identity, but also how institutions learned to repurpose liberation for control. Today, we are entering the third wave of feminism. This is the wave where feminism becomes more visible than ever through media, music, internet, fashion, pop culture, and identity politics. But that visibility comes with a cost. When feminism becomes mainstream, powerful systems don't just react to it. They learn how to package it, sell it, and reshape it. I am Khaja Begum of grade 10th, and I'm here with my 4 friends. Maria Anissa of grade 10th.
Thank you.
Zeba Afreen of grade 10th.
Thank you.
Shaza Inam of grade 9th.
Thank you.
And Samia Shaheen of grade 9th.
Thank you.
So let's dive into the third wave, not as a trend but as a turning point. People often think feminism ended after the second wave. So what exactly happened in the mid-1990s that created a new wave?
The third wave of feminism didn't begin because women just suddenly woke up. The third wave of feminism began because a new generation grew up in a different reality. It emerged in the mid-1990s, driven largely by the Gen X women who were born in the 60s and 70s. They had access to education, more legal protection, and more public voice than the women before them. But they also noticed something important. Even though laws had changed, the culture hadn't fully changed. So women still face sexism, various stereotypes, and unequal expectations just in modern forms.
Yeah, the women were surrounded by media, television, advertisements, and they experienced feminism deeply tied to culture. Would you say this wave started with the same anger as the earlier waves, or was it some kind of different pressure?
It was a whole different kind of pressure. Earlier waves were about obvious legal rights like right to vote, right to property. But the third wave of feminism was born in an era where women already had these rights written on paper. So instead of asking, do we have access, the question became, why do we still feel controlled, limited, sexualized, even after having these rights? This wave was shaped by contradictions. Women were told that they were empowered, but at the same time they were bombarded with hypersexualized media, consumer culture, and unrealistic beauty standards.
So feminism became less about the entry into society and more about the identity in the society. Now, what do you think made this wave feel so different from the outside?
Because the third wave of feminism didn't stay inside political groups or institutions. It spread through the culture. It showed up in the way women talked, dressed, represented sexuality, made art, music, and everything. But that also created a lot of confusion, because when feminism becomes cultural, people tend to believe that they can define it however they want. So even though the third wave is called very loud and strong, it also became very complicated because it did not have one main center.
Now, if you had to capture the core mood of the third wave in one honest sentence, what would it be?
It was like we inherited freedom, but in another way, we have inherited a new kind of control. At that time, women were said that they could do anything and the system will reward them if they match certain beauty standards, certain identities, and certain market-friendly employment. So we can say that third wave began with freedom, but also with frustration.
Absolutely. And who were the key drivers of this wave?
There were several influential voices, but what's interesting is that many young women took part in it with urgency. They did not wait for the institutions to give them political voice. For example, there was Rebecca Walker in a 1992 essay, Becoming the Third Wave. Helped in the movement and also inspired to establish many organizations like Third Wave Direct Action Corporation. And then there was Jennifer Baumgardner and Amy Richards, who wrote the Manifesto in 2000. What's unique about the third wave is that it wasn't built through a single type of activism. It used multiple channels like the Guerrilla Girls, who used satire and art to call out sexism.
Yeah, and movements like Riot Girls, who mixed punk, feminism, and grassroots activism. A key detail from our research is that many of these women were literally the daughters of the second wave. Why does this matter?
It matters because it changed the relationship to feminism itself. The third wave feminism didn't enter the third wave as outsiders begging to be included. They grew up in politicized households where talking about feminism was just a daily life conversation. So their tone was different. They weren't asking for permission, they were questioning the third wave itself. So they took a look at the second wave and asked, "Thank you for giving us rights, but why does this still feel incomplete?"
Yeah, I think that's why this wave critiques earlier feminism while still building on the third wave. Now, coming to the Riot Girl and Guerrilla Girls, they were in traditional politics, but they were so influential at that time.
Yeah, because they understood that the battlefield had changed. Instead of fighting parliaments or laws, they fought the culture itself. I think Riot Girl used music and community, whereas Guerrilla Girls used art and satire, as Madhya mentioned.
Yes.
And we all know that art and music connects people in a way which is way more quick and deep, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and honestly, culture reaches people faster than policy. So that approach made feminism feel more accessible and alive.
So did this cultural style make feminism more stronger or weaker?
It made the feminist visibility stronger but weakened its clarity. Because if feminism becomes culture, it would spread widen and it would inspire people and become a brand. So we can say that third wave was an expansion but also with confusion at the same time.
What exactly did the third wave feminists say that the second wave was missing?
They said that the second wave of feminism mainly focused on universal womanhood, but the third wave feminists argued by saying that not every woman experiences the world universally. And they also said that the second wave of feminism didn't represent the women of color, queer women, working class women, and non-traditional identities. They also felt that the second wave of feminism didn't confront the new world of media and digital culture as well.
So the third wave began as a critique and expansion, right? Now what did this expansion look like in practice?
It looked like feminism was being layered. The third wave moved from one single definition to including women from different realities, different experiences. So instead of women versus men, the question became race and gender, class and gender, identity and gender, power and gender, and many other things. But this inclusivity is the third wave's greatest strength. This thing also created tension because it was hard to unify politically because each group had different priorities.
And is that why people struggle to define the third wave even today?
Yeah, because the third wave of feminism is not just one movement. It was a whole cultural shift with multiple branches. For some, it meant empowerment. For others, it meant reclaiming sexuality. And for others, it meant representation, things like that. So you can't reduce it to one sentence.
So would you say this made feminism more stronger or more messier?
It became stronger because it contained more voices, and it became messier because there was no coordination in those voices.
Okay. For every wave to emerge, there is a foundation. So what was the structure designed for the third wave?
There were two main foundations. The first one was the achievements of the second wave feminism. Women had access to education, employment, reproductive rights, and everything which women need at that time. And the second one, the most important, the information revolution. At that time, there were internet, magazines, e-zines. So whenever someone had to confront their own logic and stand for their rights, they would do it. And that one message would go to each corner of the world.
And by what Samia said, how did the internet change feminism as an activism tool?
Yeah, well, you didn't have to belong to an organization or have a great status to speak. Anyone could speak, share their thoughts, create networks, and everything like that. But it also created a lot of exposure because when women started building communities, they became targets of harassment. So feminism became loud and strong, but again, it became very vulnerable.
And what kind of activism did the third wave prefer compared to the earlier waves?
It preferred creativity or structure. The third wave mainly leaned on irony, humor, art, culture, and digital activism. It wasn't always about policy meetings and organization. It was about reshaping narratives.
Okay. So does this explain why the third wave of feminism feels so individual based?
Yes, because digital spaces gave power to not only individuals but also movements and individuals together. So feminism started looking like a personal identity. This is my story, this is my power, this is my version of empowerment. That's both freeing and risky because personal feminism can inspire, but it can get us disconnected from the structural change as well.
Yeah, absolutely, Sheza. Now, what was the main focus point of the third wave?
It focused to redefine women's identity into the society, like you said before. It mainly worked to embrace intersectionality, expose stereotypes to art and humor, and redefine femininity and masculinity, and many other things. And people pushed back against shame. They tried to increase the idea of feminism through media.
So instead of changing laws, it tried to change what society believed was normal. Now, can you give us more cultural example that shaped this wave?
There were many, like the Riot Girl Punk movement. They created a space for angry, creative women to express their voices. There was one group named as Guerrilla Girls. They expressed their feelings about gender equality through their art. Singers like Madonna, Queen Latifah, Mary J. Blige, they have expressed what all they think about feminism to stood up for their rights through their own passion, talent, and art.
Yeah, these examples matter a lot because culture is where people learn their identity. Now, when feminism shifts into pop culture, what was the benefit?
The benefit is the reach because a political speech might reach a few, but songs, TV shows, they reach millions of people. That makes young people feel represented. That expands feminist ideas. But there was one issue that if feminism enters entertainment, it becomes vulnerable to being shaped by profit motives.
And does this wave include more women than the earlier waves?
Yes, because it becomes more racially and culturally inclusive than the previous waves. At least in representation and language, the third wave tries harder to include women who were previously ignored by the earlier waves. Inclusion as language is one thing, inclusion as power as another, and that's where the struggle continues.
Yeah. Our research says that the internet democratized feminism, but also commodified it. Can you explain that tension?
Yeah, I got you. Democratization means that anyone could speak through e-zines, blogs, forums, etc. Whereas commodification means once you attract attention online, market would follow. So empowerment becomes content, content becomes clicks, and clicks becomes profit. So that's how it works.
So basically the feminism became both community and marketplace at the same time.
Right.
Now how does this affect feminism's depth?
it creates pressure to simplify. Online spaces, they usually reward things that are short and go viral. But feminism isn't a simple topic. Sometimes feminism was shortened to slogan rather than analysis. People felt empowered, but at the same time, they did not understand the real meaning, the real struggle behind what is happening.
And what did this shift do to leadership in the role of feminism?
It broke gatekeeping, that's good, because representation expands, and it broke fragmentation. Because when everybody leads, there's no shared direction. So feminism becomes loud, chaotic, inclusive, and powerful.
Okay, so is it fair to say that this is where feminism becomes harder to define?
Exactly, because when activism becomes decentralized, it becomes diverse but less coordinated. So there were a lot of things happening in the third wave. So we face difficulty to explain it into one single statement.
And now coming to the controversies, what were the main criticism of the third wave of feminism?
Critics said that this wave is too fragmented and lacked political unity because everyone prioritized themselves over the other things, right? So it gave a plus point to the critics. And some even claim that this is post-feminism, claiming that equality have already been gained.
Okay, now let's address the most uncomfortable question: empowerment or performance?
This is where the wave becomes morally complicated because the third wave of feminism wanted to reclaim its sexuality from shame, but corporations saw this as an opportunity and flipped the message from be proud of your body, own your body, to display your body because it sells. So what looks like empowerment is just market-guided performance.
Now I'm actually confused. How do we judge what's freedom and what's manipulation?
We judge by asking who benefits. But from my choice, honestly, if self-expression was our own choice, it would increase dignity and autonomy. But instead, it increases the profit of industry and exploitation. So clearly, it wasn't freedom. It was just market disguised as liberation.
Yeah, exactly. And do you think this confusion weakened the movement?
It didn't weaken it entirely, but it did create division. Because once the movement can't agree on what empowerment means, it creates division. And that's the thing with cultural feminism. It spreads fast, but it can split easily.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Shaza. The third wave didn't rise alone. It counted many movements. And what were they? There were many. So can you name some?
There were three main reasons for that. The first one was anti-feminism. Some religious leaders, conservative politicians, they said that just because of feminism, it is weakening the family structures. Like there is a common saying कि अगर औरतें बाहर का काम करेगी तो घर का काम कौन करेगा? And this is a thing society is still facing. The second one is early men activism. At that time, there was one man named as Warren Farrell. He said that just because of feminism and just because women, no one is observing the hard work and the struggles which were being done by men at that time. Then the patriarchy. People said that patriarchy was woven into colonialism, capitalism and state power at that time.
And what did anti-feminism look like in public message?
Well, it framed feminism as either unnecessary or too dangerous because people believed that women are already equal, feminism is man-hating, the biggest misconception.
Yeah.
And that feminism breaks families, another one, and debates about gender justice is very exaggerated. Even today, when a girl approaches her family and she says that, oh, I'm a feminist, so her parents would be like, ये क्या फालतू बातें कर रही है?
Yes.
Exactly, I agree with you.
Yes.
But what about the anti-misogyny movements? What were they responding to?
The internet exposed misogyny at scale. Women faced harassments, online abuse, threats, stalkings, and many other things. But this was normalized. It was so frequent that women started to accept this, that if we do something, this will eventually happen to us. And anti-misogyny grew through feminist bloggers, digital safety advocates, and early communities that later paved the way for Me Too style activism, which was started in 2006.
And why did anti-patriarchy movements expanded in this era?
Because masculinity was itself changing. Industries and many corporations labeled various traits as feminine. So when men and women started working alongside together, many men reacted aggressively. Some started questioning patriarchy itself, and some thought that disrupted the old definitions of male power. So this era produced both reaction and revolution at once.
As you all know, the first wave and the second wave, they both had the darkest side, right? The third wave also reveals a difficult truth. It reveals how the corporation monetized the feminism at scale.
Yeah, this is where feminism enters business ideas, because businesses got a lot of profit through feminist ideas. You know, during those days, they used to sell merchandise and t-shirts, and you know what was labeled on them? Girl power, empowerment, feminism, and they had unrealistic beauty standards for women. So once feminism becomes a brand, it stops becoming a political goal.
Yeah, the corporation didn't join feminism, they colonized it.
Yeah,
and
right.
how did the pop culture become both voice and manipulator?
Pop culture became feminism's loudest speaker. But the shows and celebrities, they portrayed that they believe in this. But at the same time, they did this for promotion, to promote unrealistic beauty standards, consumption, lifestyle return to sell trends, and many other things.
And what happened once feminism moved into online spaces?
Online feminism became a very big thing at that time. Digital activism became a community, but also a market. Like, they started manipulating the feelings and desires of women.
Okay, and what's the real danger of empowerment being profitable?
It creates a fake version of freedom. When empowerment becomes profitable, the system does not need to change. It can sell you the illusion of change, and that's when feminism becomes a lifestyle instead of a movement.
You know, our research highlights a pattern. Politicians used feminism language without real outcomes. And how did that affect this wave?
Political campaigns, they started to use words like girl power, strong woman, feminism, many other things. But at the same time, these politicians, they were still supporting laws that were against working class women, like cutting welfare. So, feminism became a campaign aesthetics, not a policy priority.
And I can't understand why do people fall for rhetorical feminism?
Because language creates trust. When politicians use feminist ideas in their language, people think that feminist ideas would follow. But the third wave proved that nah, this ain't happening.
Okay. You know, in this wave, intersectionality, it becomes huge, but also it becomes a buzzword. What does this mean?
It means that diversity in language increased, but policy always didn't follow. There was representation, but reforms were lagged. So inclusion became visible, but also not that powerful.
And does this connect to why third wave feminism felt so inclusive but divided?
Yes, because language expanded faster than systems did. So women felt seen but not protected, represented but not always respected. That gap caused frustration and division.
You know, the pattern inside the third wave, it has the same story but at bigger scale. The document draws a pattern all across the wave. Can you say it clearly?
Well, the pattern is consistent, just amplified. The first wave of feminism was used by political institutions. The second wave of feminism was exploited by corporations and mass marketing. And the third wave of feminism was used by consumer culture, as Madhya said, and digital economics. So even though the third wave gave women visibility and language, it gave corporations and organizations an access to women's bodies, identities, and made women insecure about themselves.
And by this, we come to the end of our podcast. And if there's one lesson we should learn from this wave, what would you carry forward?
That culture can change faster than laws, but culture can be controlled by markets. So feminism must stay aware of who is shaping the message.
That's important.
For me, it would definitely be that empowerment without structural change can become a trap. If liberation becomes a product, women remain as consumers, not decision makers.
Agreed. What about the internet?
Well, the internet gave women visibility but also make them the bigger targets. So, visibility must come with accountability and safety.
And at that time, inclusion matters, but without unity and strategy, reforms lose direction. So, reforms is important, but reforms alone is not transformation.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. The third wave of feminism expanded the fight from law to culture, identity, and representation. But it also reveals the difficult truth. When liberation becomes popular, powerful systems learn to sell it, shape it, and dilute it. Thank you for being a part of this conversation. Stay tuned for our next episode. Till then, keep thinking, keep questioning. KB here, signing off.